Hello, my lovely soul, and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence. I am your host, Lauren Glick. I am here to bring you my energy, my motivational speaking, and me being a confidence mentor. My mission is to inspire women to own who they are, step into their higher selves fearlessly, and live a life with unstoppable joy. On this show, we are going to cover everything from aligning your life to your higher self, setting boundaries, self-growth, and living a purpose-driven life. Let's get you living a meaningful life you cannot wait to wake up to. Stop driving and start living with ease and abundance. Cheers to living a magical life. And I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Now, let's head into today's episode. Hello, Jen. I am so excited to have you here on as a guest on Unstoppable Confidence. So I just first wanted to say thank you because I know my listeners will get so because I know I am always talking to that like one individual with their like AirPods in their ear, you know? And I think that's the coolest part about podcasting and being able to bring that advice because we are literally just talking to one individual at a time. So
yeah, totally agree. Hey, I'm happy to be here. I adore you. And I just think your energy is rock solid. So I'm glad to be here.
Likewise. And I would love for you to introduce yourself to the ladies listening right now.
Sure. So I'm Jen Buck and I am a professional speaker and I focus on helping women get into those boardroom seats or into those leading positions in governments. I have spent my career in the public speaking and professional speaking realms. So I started my career out actually working for a startup and I was there 10 years as a trainer. And then for the past 24 years, I've been working around the world, helping women with, their career trajectory. I need to say that clearly since
I know that's a hard one.
Trajectory, right? And so, I do coaching. I help women who want to become speakers. So 24 years doing this.
I love it. And just as you ladies know, I met Jen in Clubhouse and I love that you teach speaking because in Clubhouse is obviously extremely important to show up with the confidence and the ability to speak clearly and understand that being very clear on what you're saying. Within the clarity is where you get the growth of your network and the growth of clients. So I think that's so vital for all entrepreneurs, 100%.
Yeah.
And you did mention that you started in a startup. I would absolutely love to hear about, because you said you've been an entrepreneur for 24 years, right?
Yeah.
So were you ever in a 9-to-5?
Just during those 10 years. So when I started out, I was literally 18 years old and I was going to school, going to college. And I have had another job and I was a waitress at Chili's in the bar.
Oh, there you go.
I sucked at being a food server because I talk so much and food's always like cold and late. And so they put me in the bar because people are drinking and they don't care, right?
Yeah.
If you're hanging around because food's late.
Yeah, that's true. And if you're serving alcohol, it's cold anyway. So
they don't care. Yeah. And so anyway, I had a job working at Chili's and there was a couple that kept coming in and I loved them and we would all hang out. And oftentimes when I was done with work, we would all go have a drink. And the woman had just started working for Discover Card. And so that's the startup. They had never, been on the marketplace. There was Visa, Master, and American Express, and that was it. And so this new company called Discover Card came around and I had told her that I wanted to become a speaker because I'd gone to a women's conference. I was totally blown away. My life was changed by Joan Rivers when she was the keynote speaker. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I had said that because everybody wants to know, like, what are you doing? When you're serving food, everybody's kind of interested in your life. And so as it turns out, I got this call at the restaurant
Mm.
18 years old, literally a freshman in college. And she said, I know that this might sound weird, but this company that I work for, Discover Card, which I was like, Discovery what? Like I hadn't heard of it either, right?
Yeah.
And she said, we're looking for someone that will help train the merchants out in the world, their stores, on how to take the Discover Card. And I would love to have you interview with our company. And I was like, oh
Wow.
God, I don't, I'm a freshman in college. Anyway, I did. And they hired me and I was there for 10 years as a trainer and just worked my way up right up through the corporate ladder.
Did you finish college or did you just
So
go straight into
Yeah, no,
Discover?
I had to keep going to college. My parents in fact, my parents told me that I could only work there for a year because they said that they needed me to stay in school. And then when they found out that Discover Card paid for school, they were like, oh no, you're doing so well there. This is so fantastic.
Thanks, parents.
Yeah, that I ended up going through school and staying there, but I was there for 10 years. And I knew that there was more and I wanted to be a speaker and all that. So in that 10th year, I ended up auditioning for the National Women's Conference. And that's when the whole entrepreneurial journey started. And I was 28 years old going out and working with women. And it was just awesome. It was such a great time in life.
I absolutely love that. And the fact that it's like, okay, these circumstances were served. I don't want to say they were like put in front of you. I always like to say served on a platter, but like you were in those situations and you took the leap of faith that something good was going to happen from it. And that's why I really loved that story. Cause you were like, Discover Card, what in the F is that? Well, I'm going to try it anyways. Cause you just never know. It could turn out good. It could turn out bad. But if you don't try, then you literally never know.
Yeah. I was lucky. I mean, let's be honest. Like what crazy person hires an 18-year-old? Let's be really clear.
Yeah. Let's be really clear.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
We just don't hire people that young with no experience and background and education, right? And so I was lucky that it was a startup, that it was brand new. They needed bodies in seats, if you will. So I got super lucky. There's no question. But they were such a phenomenal company and it was such a cool environment to be in for 10 years that I stayed,
That's so cool. And then
lucky.
How did you get into the women's conference? Like what was that opportunity like for you? How did you even hear about it?
So I had a boyfriend who read the paper, and I don't have many 28-year-olds in my life that would read the paper. But anyway, I didn't get the paper at my house, but I remember getting a call on a Sunday morning from him. And he said, open up the paper to blah, blah, blah section. And I was like, I don't even know. No, I don't have a paper. And he was like, go to the store right now and get a paper. So I literally went and got a newspaper from the store. It's probably the only newspaper I've ever bought in my whole life. Right. And I went and bought a newspaper and called him and I was like, well, what do I do? And he said, turn to this page in this section. And sure enough, in the middle of this newspaper page, there was this huge box, the biggest box of all of them. And it said right in the center, it said, looking for female speakers to be on the National Women's Conference. And and so they gave like an audition day and time and all of that. And it was literally like the next day, Monday.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I remember saying to him, I've got to work tomorrow. I don't have what I need to have. And it was like, throw a resume together. I'm like, I've worked at the same company for 10 years. I don't have a resume. Like because think about it, I was 18, right? And so as it turns out, he helped me that day. We put this whole package together and I went to this hotel to audition and there were hundreds of women there.
Oh, I bet.
And I remember being so insecure, but knowing I'd done this for 10 years. So I knew I was good at it, but I walked up and I had to stand in this line. And when I got up, I found out that I didn't know at the time, the woman who was helping me was the vice president of speakers. And so I got up there and I gave her this little package that showed all my certifications and all the things I had. And I could train 154, if I remember right, 156 courses. And I had 3 coaching certifications. So like I had great credentials, right? But she looked at the form, or not the form, but the folder, and then looked at me and she goes, how old are you? And I said, I'm 28. And she goes and closed the folder and goes, oh, I'm sorry. Hands me back my folder and says, we don't hire speakers under 40.
Okay.
I was so pissed. I took my folder, I walked out, and I remember standing in front of this huge hotel. And all of a sudden it just hit me like, this is bullshit. I'm not doing this. Like I worked too hard to get here. I've put in the time. I know what I can do. And so I went and stood back in line. And when I was standing there, I remember her looking down the line
I love it.
and noticing me. And I was just like resolute, like, I'm not leaving, lady. And so when I got up there and she was like I said, and I opened up the folder in front of her and I spun it around so she could see it. And I pointed at my certifications and I said, do any of your 40-year-old speakers have 154 classes that they can train, that they're certified in? And she was like, you can train 154 classes? I said, yes, I can. I'm certified in all of them. And she was like, well, let me take another look at this. And so anyway, as it turns out, they let me audition. It was the scariest audition of my life. By the way, I tripped getting on stage. That was like total movie, like when you go, across the stage. But I literally was like, ta-da, when I was, because I
really funny,
looked like such an idiot. And so went through it and I ended up getting the job. There were that day, I'm sorry, let me say this differently. They hired one person that day of all these hundreds of speakers, but that conference, you would have like 6 women who traveled together every single day to a different major city around the country. So it was like literally a sorority. It was incredible. Incredible.
Ooh, I love that story, Jen, because first of all, there were 2 circumstances in that story that women might have been detoured from moving forward, right? There was like a roadblock where usually somebody would be like, oh, okay, well, I have like, okay, this thing in the newspaper. Well, it was a couple of circumstances of like, no, I'm not going to go get a newspaper. Like, what are you even talking about, boyfriend? Yeah. But you did the steps and you saw maybe a glimpse of something that could happen. Yeah. And especially when like the next day, it was the next day.
The next day. I called it total lie. Yeah.
Total lie. And you did it, right? You got the things together and you went there knowing that, holy shit, I can be as much prepared as possible, but there's this opportunity that's in front of me and I'm going to take it. Yeah. I know there's like a lot of women out there that might just not do that. And that's what I'm absolutely love that part of your story is because when there's an opportunity in front of you, there's a reason why. And even if you're not 100 or 1000%, like I am completely prepared. Nothing is perfect ever. And I think the fact that you went for it, you prepared and you just went there. I love that story, Jen. And then the fact that the lady was like, no. And you're like, yeah, I'm still coming here. Like,
I remember her just staring at me down that line. Like, I already told you. Yeah. And I just was like, you're not doing this. I came too far in the last 24 hours.
Yeah. I absolutely love that, Jen. I mean, and you said they hired one female through that whole conference, but you did make a lot of close friends did you get a lot of speaking opportunities that came from that, or how did that kind of unravel for you?
Yeah, no, it was everything. It was totally everything. I mean, I look at my time with Discover Card, I never would have gotten in the door had they not invested in me. Right. And so that was a big risk and great decision. But then when I got on this women's conference, I mean, you're speaking to 500 women a day in these, hotels or arenas or whatever it was, minimum 500. I mean, sometimes there were thousands. And so it was an incredible way to all of a sudden just have clients being thrown at me, people that wanted me to come in, and training is what I did. I mean, I was more of a trainer at that time than I was a speaker, right? But I was becoming a speaker because I was on stage and whatever. And so, it's what started all of it. And those are lifelong friends of mine that we still do events together to this day. We put on women's conferences, granted digitally, but we put on events together to this day because we've all become really successful in that space in different areas. We all focus on different things, but we all focus on women. And it was life-changing. I mean, it was literally, you'd leave on a Sunday, like Sunday morning, you'd fly to your destination, and then you would meet the other speakers at the airport. You'd all get in a rental car and go to the hotel, and you would stay together until Friday night. So you're literally traveling 6 days a week. And that's your life. I mean, it's awesome because you get to eat the best food and see the coolest places. I've been to every state in this country more times than I can count. It's cool to be able to know your country.
I mean, was that a challenge for you to do those things, to get up and be like, this is what I'm going to do? Because for the listener out there right now, that's like, okay, well, I wasn't that lucky as Jen was. Like, how Is there any advice that you could give to women that feel a little bit stuck right now?
Yeah.
With like moving forward in their entrepreneur journey, or like, I'm not that lucky as Jen
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. No, trust. I get it. I
Yeah.
totally hear you on that. So whatever it is, if you wanted to be
Yeah.
a speaker, for instance, the first thing I would say is get a coach, because you got to learn how to do it, because
Yeah.
public speaking is not professional speaking. They are two completely different things. One is just sort of, I got up in front of a group. The other is very choreographed and systematic and strategic. And there's a whole theory to all of it. So first thing I would say is, anything you want to do, you got to get someone to help you really get into the nitty gritty of it. But mostly I would say for me, what's sort of opened up every door for me is that I live from a place of absolutely, like, no matter how crazy it is, even if it's, Jen, we're going to jump off this bridge, which by the way, I have jumped off a bridge, or jump off this cliff, at the river, or if we're going to, do something crazy, my answer is always absolutely. Like, I am not a wishy-washy person about opportunity. Like, I'm all about the absolutely. So even when I'm asked to do things that I'm afraid of, and I think behind the scenes, oh my gosh, why are they asking me to do this? And I'm talking business wise or whatever, professionally, I have to go back to, there's a reason why they offered it to me. They see something I don't see. So I'm just going to show up and do everything I can to be the best I can be in that moment. But it's literally, and my mom says this to other people, that I live my whole life that way. Do you want to try this? Do you want to do this? Do you want to look into this? Absolutely. I just feel really strongly about that. And having that opportunity and the education and the commitment and the training and maybe the coaching, whatever it is, when those things come together, Oprah says it, like, magic happens, it's preparation and opportunity. And
I love that.
I believe that. Yeah.
100%. I definitely do too. And I really agree with getting a coach, because they've already been through that. They know the steps, and being able to, and we get to we get to go through those opportunities with their experience and their knowledge, and hiring somebody that's already done it is just speeding up time.
Yeah.
And I think that's so vital.
Right? As coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here to share information and lift everybody. And when you get the right coach, I mean, they pour into you. That's what it's about, pouring into someone and making them better than they were when they met you.
Oh, 100%. I absolutely love that. And so you're coaching right now and you're a speaker, like those are your two offers right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I also have an online academy for women. So I have women who have courses that affiliate with me, and they come on to my platform, and it's called the HERstory Collaborative. And so it's, of course, I have to do live presentations. So now live, of course, is digital, right? In the COVID world. But, BC, before COVID, I was absolutely on stage several times a week and whatnot. Now it's just through Zoom or through whatever platform they're using. But so I do that. I do coaching. My coaching is either with executives, women who are trying to get into higher levels, trying to be a more effective leader. But then there's also this other digital side, which is the HERstory Academy. And that's where I provide courses for women to go in and learn from, divorce, believe it or not, getting through a divorce effectively, to empowering yourself, to learning to be better online and have a stronger presence and make an impact in the digital world of social media, all the way to, self-defense. I mean, it's just, there's a huge gamut of courses.
I love that. And I really love the fact that you mentioned that you do work with CEOs and you help them really become a better leader. And does that have everything to do with how they speak, or how does that's interesting.
So there are a couple of sides of my coaching. So one of them is definitely on the leadership development side. And that is what you're talking about. It's about a leader being better for the people that are working for and with them. And so it's about understanding human dynamics. It's about understanding working styles, how to communicate one-on-one or in a group setting, but how to be more empathetic, more understanding, watch the cues, be very, very clear and aware of words that are chosen and how you're sort of scripting yourself in front of others. And so it's definitely about being a good leader and inspiring people. But then there's this other side of my coaching that is all about the presentation skills. Now, when you hit that level of being an entrepreneur that is making a big impact, you become very much, known as being a thought leader. And if you're a CEO, CFO, COO, whatever it might be, CTO, you are in a role that is requiring you to share your knowledge on a global stage. And so we have things like TED Talks, right? TEDx. We've got people who go to the UN to communicate what's really happening in the world of business. And so business leaders know that they have got to be able to totally raise their skill set to speak in front of audiences like the United Nations, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
And really communicate effectively on that global stage. And so that's what I do. I prepare them and teach them how to make sure that their message has impact, because that's what it's all about.
No, 100%. I completely agree. And, kind of to bring it back to new entrepreneurship, because the United Nations, that's crazy. I love that.
I know, right? Can you imagine?
Yeah. I know. And to help new entrepreneurs, and I think to really bring it back to how we got connected and how I was able to start really understanding that I have a very powerful voice and a very powerful word. It really stemmed to me to understand empathy and communication. It was really Clubhouse. And I think that's why a lot of individuals are shying off from it, because the communication is so vital in that application of that sort of social media. And it's such a good app to really build those skills, just at a very basic level. Are there any Clubhouse rooms that you're a part of on a weekly basis by any chance?
Yeah, actually several. I do a couple of rooms that are about bringing white women and Black women together. And that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it's getting us to a place where we can understand each other's experience and heal, because there are some really, really deep wounds that go back decades. And there's a lot of power there if we can get through that together. That's another thing about what I do. I'm a diversity, equity, and inclusion trainer. And so I help with that relationship and transitioning through that pain. So anyway, that's one thing I do. I also have a room that I'm a part of every week that's called Hey Girl, You Can Have It All. It was actually today. I think you might have been in the audience. Yes,
I was.
I saw you. And so I do that. I've got another room that I do with Lady Boss International. And so I just, I really try to pop in to as many rooms as I can. My commitment is once a day to get in there and to bring value.
Yeah.
And that is sometimes an hour, max 2. I can't imagine not having this platform in my world. It's that important. My connections have been that strong. The relationships, the opportunities I have probably gotten, and I am not kidding you when I say this, probably 30 speaking gigs.
Wow.
From Clubhouse. Yeah.
Wow.
No, not all paying.
Yeah.
But the point is, I don't always care if it's paying, because I'm being introduced to another audience. Yeah. And so something always comes of it. I can't imagine not being there. That's how necessary that platform has become to my business.
Oh, me too. I completely agree. And I completely agree with you that the speaking gigs that I have gotten as well, it's like some are paid within the app, some are paid without the app, but also at the same time, it's that audience building and the networking. And when you get to know, or you're able to get on somebody else's platform, it's super vital, because you already have that trust factor with that audience, because they're bringing you onto the platform as a guest. So I completely agree with you that without Clubhouse, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I absolutely love the platform, because it's so easy to connect and build relationships with people. And that's the foundation of business, right? And I think that was my main issue before I was on the platform, because it's so hard to get out, especially on Instagram, to have that trust factor with people. Because you don't have that energy exchange of an open conversation. But if you're able to get on a stage and talk about a certain subject, it's so it makes things a lot easier to grow as an entrepreneur on that platform.
I totally agree. I feel like, and I bet you'd feel this way too. I feel like that platform alone sort of supercharged everything. It supercharged my social media, it supercharged my coaching, it supercharged, and yet I had this huge career. But when it came around is when COVID hit, and all my events for 2 years canceled in a matter of 2 months, gone. And so that's right when Clubhouse came around for me. And it was just that I had to ride the wave and pivot with it, and so, so many of my speaking gigs were, these online gigs that had thousands of people in them, but it was somebody I met in a room who was like, hey, you do this? I'm looking for someone who does that, and the opportunities are endless. And more than that, though, the relationships are really cool because you get to hear somebody and you get to, get to know them, even though we're not face to face, we're ear to ear. And it's really powerful.
Yeah. And I've met so many entrepreneurs off of Clubhouse, and it's not even like you're not meeting them for the first time. Yes, you get to like hug them for the first time, but it's like, oh, like I was at a meetup this past weekend as well, and it was like, oh yeah, I already know you guys. Like it's just like we're just seeing each other's faces.
Yeah. And we're all sort of connected now on social media, so we're watching each other's lives, we're watching so it does feel like we're already friends. Like yeah, it's great.
And I love that it was that platform that helps you pivot, and you didn't have that stuck moment of, oh God, the pandemic, what next? And Clubhouse was there for you.
Yeah, me too. Although I did have that moment of, oh God, but
I know, I think everyone, I think everyone did, but the fact that you were able to move, let's make that clear.
100%.
Everyone had everyone had the holy schmoly, what is going on with the world? But we don't yes, we get to kind of wallow in it, but at the same time, like moving through those emotions rather than like keeping ourselves there. And I think that makes the most powerful leaders are those ones that are like, this is not a good situation. We need to figure out that answer. Sorry if you hear my dogs. That this is the answer to help us get moving to
100%.
Be successful. Like somebody has to do it. Who's going to do it?
Yep. 100%. Totally agree.
Is there anything else that you would like to add for the audience today, Jen? I absolutely loved listening to your story, by the way. You're an inspiration for sure.
Thank you for that. Thanks. I have a new course that was just launched that is called Glow Up. And Glow Up is all about boosting your social media brand. Throughout the pandemic, all this time that we were sort of stuck inside, I buried myself in learning how to figure out Instagram. I started out something like 750 or something people. I don't remember anymore, but 770. And that was literally March when the pandemic started. And I spent like 12 hours, in like YouTube University, trying to figure this out, purchasing courses, anything I could. And so now what I've done is I've created I think it's an 8 video course. I should know this off the top of my head.
Yeah, you should, but that's okay. I do the same thing.
It's 8 for sure. An 8 video course that is and workbook that's all about helping people put the right steps in place to supercharge their social media brand. So it's fun. It's easy. I'll give you a free course. You can have one of them. Not that you really need it because yours is blowing up already. But the point is, it's $119 and it's great information. It's cheaper than most courses out there. I did that on purpose just so that I could help people get their social in order, because it really is the key to everything. And it's not going away. Yeah. So
it really is.
That's what I'm doing. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Jen Buck Speaks, as in speaks, like right now, speaks.
Yeah.
Jen Buck Speaks. And jenbuckspeaks.com is my website. So
absolutely. I love it, Jen. I love the inspiration that you were able to give to the ladies today. So thank you so much for joining. Also, Jen Buck Speaks at Instagram? What other platforms are you on? Because there are some like Twitter people here too.
Oh yeah, Twitter. Although I do get a little political there. We didn't talk about this, but I work in politics also. Yeah. And so there might be some political stuff but I keep that off of like the Instagram. Facebook group or Facebook page, and Instagram. Yeah, I don't talk about any of that stuff there. And I'm on LinkedIn and TikTok, and I'm like everywhere on.
I know. And I think that's really vital as well, being a new entrepreneur, that we get to have like this discovery of the platforms and see which one really sticks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's fun because I'm learning a little bit about all platforms, and the use of content on different platforms. So it's really fun and I absolutely love it. So I just wanted to say thank you again, Jen. I know the ladies listening got some really good nuggets from your story. So thank you again. And we will chat soon.
Loved it. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you are so excited about where you're going, because I know I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with a girlfriend or posted it on social media. Tag me so I could personally say thank you. I am so grateful. And until next time,